All right, Mr. Chair, you are live.
Okay. All right, so we'll call to order. It looks like 6:06 is what I have. First order is approval of the minutes. So hopefully you guys got 2 months worth of minutes. It should have been August, and I could not remember if we had done June's or not, so I sent those around just to be sure. Any corrections, changes to either of those 2 months?
No.
Okay, we'll just do them. Unless anyone objects, we'll just approve both of those at the same time. Nope. Hold on.
Okay, so you're saying there's June, minutes of the June, July, and August have been approved?
There was no July meeting, so just
Okay.
June and August.
Okay,
Okay.
David, do you want a motion? Do you want a motion to accept them or anything?
Sure. We'll take a motion from Chad. I'm going to say that Chad
Sounds
just
good.
made that motion.
I did.
I'll second it.
And
Paul
Paul
and I
seconded it. And we're gonna move through. Unless there are any objections, we'll say it's unanimous. Feel free to voice your objections. Now is your time.
it was second by Paul.
Second by Paul. And we're gonna move it through with unanimous approval of both of those minutes by all the members who are here at the moment. Okay, I have not heard anything.
A little bit, or is it just on my end?
I don't. Can you guys? Is anyone else having a problem hearing me?
Oh,
No, I can hear you.
Okay, Carrie, it might just be on your end. I'm on my business network, and that's usually pretty good. I'll try and speak as slow and clear as I can, so hopefully it'll come through. The next order of business is just membership updates, and I believe the only two that we were talking about were John and Chad, and I think they both got re-upped, if I'm not mistaken. I think it both happened at the same time. I will also put in there that I put a call into City Hall today, but I didn't find out as to whether Kevin Racine was put on as a member or not yet. I know he put in his application, but I'm not sure if he's been approved. So as
And I
soon as
saw
I
him this morning.
did you?
Yes.
Did he say anything to you by any chance? 'Cause-
No, he didn't. I don't know if he was mad because, he told me the last time. And I remember he gave me the thing to turn in his name. So I was thinking, oh, he hasn't been notified. But he said nothing. I saw him about 8:30 walking Union Avenue.
Okay. Well, I'll find out and get 100% from them, and hopefully he'll be able to make our next, and we'll put him on for the next meeting. But I'll let everyone know as soon as I find out. Route 40 ad hoc and Route 40 Blenheim. I don't have any updates from that as far as I know. As far as road grants, Tim, is there anything new?
Not at this time. We've pretty much still waiting on the contractor to start on Lewis Street. So that's pretty much, we've not applied for any additional grants at this time for any other construction projects.
Okay. Now, as far as the traffic pattern around the old 7-Eleven, I'm going to kind of lump that in. So we can talk about this a little more next meeting, but I had sent, and I apologize, I probably should have sent that around to you guys a little earlier, but I feel like we might have sent it around once already, but I couldn't remember. But there was a study in that email that I sent to you guys. If you get a chance to please peruse it, and then if you want to come back with any comments or anything, but I believe that was the last study done by the state for that area that I know of, at least. So feel free to go ahead. Casey, is that you?
Yeah. So the study has several recommendations, and Tim has, I believe, Tim, you're providing comments as well to the state in regards to those recommendations.
Well, I am, but the bottom line really is that, in my personal opinion, none of the proposals that they have are going to alleviate the situation. That it's really about the toll on the Hayden Bridge. I mean, the discount toll. That's what's creating the issue. And I don't know, it seems to be the one they're recommending is making High Street from, I guess that's Ontario and Chapel Road, one way. I think that's the one they're leaning to, but it actually, I don't see that making much of a difference. I just don't. None of the proposals they're making, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. I mean, I'm going to write a letter and comment back on it, but I'd like to know, I'd like them to do a study on the, determine, is there some way that they can do a study to look at how much traffic is getting off on 95, going through, coming around, getting back on 40, going through Hayden, and then getting back on 95 again. And how much of that traffic is doing, what the numbers are for that, because that I think is the issue. And it's, to me, they're leaning on the sort of the least costly of the ones, which is, I believe, option 2, that they're kind of leaning on. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to write back to them. I mean, that's going to be my recommendation, that they look at the traffic patterns and what's causing the backups, the issue.
I know when we met with the with MTA about this issue, they very quickly pushed back onto the city of Havre de Grace. Well, you all wanted to have the decreased amount for the toll, and we told you this would happen if you got the decreased amount on the toll. But I don't see how that is actually what the problem is. It doesn't matter whether it's light traffic or heavy traffic at that intersection. It still is a bit of a bear to go through it.
The issue that when the toll was first set up, because I was in on the whole ground floor of all this between Cecil and Harford County, when I was over at Cecil County as Director of Development Services. And the issue was, this pass was only supposed to be for the local folks. It was not the initial, and that's what's so erroneous to what they're saying, is that the agreement and what everybody in Cecil and Harford County were saying was they wanted the locals, people that go back and forth across the bridge, that live in the local area, to be able to be afforded this discount. But what's happened was that it was challenged and found that you legally could not do that. You couldn't selectively just allow select few people this discount, that it had to be for everyone who applied for it. And that's what the issue is. What I'm looking for is a sort of discount toll by zip code. That's something that I think so that the locals pay one, but somebody that lives in New Jersey pays a little different discount toll. That maybe that would be a little, I don't know. That's kind of what I was looking at, and that's kind of what I'm asking for from the state, is to tell me how much of this traffic that's coming through the city right now is getting off 95, going through the Hayden Bridge, and then getting back on 95. So,
well, and the other thing I believe is it's not just the reduced toll, but I think for trucks, don't you also skip a weigh station that way too? Because the weigh station on that Hayden Bridge is never open.
I think that might be true as well. I'm not quite sure about that one, but that could be as well. Yes.
That's a good point. Because the trucks are the ones that gum up the works, because they have a really tough turn to make onto Route 40. And, rather than making it one way, are they able to restrict the size of trucks on that road, Tim? Because that's the issue. Is the tractor trailers coming there. If you put no trucks over a certain size, that would help a lot, I think.
It would, but then the issue is enforcement, and that's the other issue. we can put the signs up. We certainly, because that's a state road, and I could request the state to do that. But it's the enforcement issue that's going to have to take precedent, is whether or not that will be enforced, and that's another issue in and of itself.
Right. Well, I think they would get the,
For video enforcement, I mean, is video enforcement doable?
I don't know. I mean, that's something new to me. I don't know.
Well, they tried the video speed enforcement and it didn't go over well.
well, I guess that's one of the questions, because we know vehicles speed on that road to get to the light. I mean, they're all in a rush to get to the light.
But I can tell you that an individual out of state was able to go out at the time before they changed to the different Easy Pass website, but they were able to go to MD Easy Pass and using a out of state address get the Haddam Pass.
Oh, of course. I mean, Kim's absolutely right. The legal challenge. I mean, we can't charge people from out of state more for to use our boat ramps, for example, right, Tim? Because we're just not able to do
Yeah,
that.
that's correct. We can't charge. We have to, by law, we have to charge everyone the same. Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
we can't do it. And I think it's admirable to try and see if even zip codes could be used, but I think that'll fail too. That I think you're right. It's two things. It is the Haddam Bridge being cheaper. But if the state can restrict trucks on that road, I think that would help a lot, Tim, because they really slow down to make that turn, so you get less cars going through the light. And they
Well, I
stack up.
certainly could request that.
That would be a huge step in the right direction.
I certainly could request that, make that request in my response back to the traffic study. That's something I can be doing.
I don't know. What does everyone else think about that?
I think we just need to figure out how the school system got in-state and out-of-state tuition and do the same with tolls.
Unfortunately, sir, I don't think it would make a difference. We get spotty support on 155 to begin with.
What do you mean?
I mean, right now we've got, I've seen in the evening hours where we've got double deckers trying to make the turn because they're trying to get across on the cheaper bridge.
Well, I mean, I think we have to try something, and that seems to be a step in the right direction. And, enforcement, I assume the city of Havre de Grace can enforce it if they need to, if there's enough public outcry about it. But I think doing nothing's bad. We're raising this as a point. The director's saying he can make that request, and I don't see why we shouldn't. I mean, whether it works or not, it's another story, but are you saying no, let the trucks keep coming?
I may be wrong, but I don't think that the tractor trailers get a discount, because like if I pull a camper across the bridge with my pickup truck, I still have to pay for the camper separately.
It's still a lower rate than it is up on the 95.
Yeah, it's still a lower rate.
Okay, well, I mean, we could certainly ask the state or talk to Tim about asking the state for those signs to see if there's a way that we can restrict access to onto that part of Ohio. But then we just have to make sure that we restrict it.
I can do that. That's not a problem. I can put that in with my response to the traffic, to the traffic study.
Yeah, and then it's just whether we can restrict all the other ways that they can, because I know signs went up. It looked like new signs went up on Erie Street within the last week or so, restricting the truck traffic on that.
Oh,
right?
I put those up. I put those up at the request of the mayor. So yes, we put those up. City did. I took care of that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one way that they get to 40. I know, and then.
And the new signs were up on, is that Ohio Street?
Erie.
No, that's the Erie. So on Erie Street, which is that little cut through,
Yes.
like you come down 155 all the way.
You
You
go
make
down that development.
right. You make that
Okay.
right on Juniata, then you make the next right on Erie, then you put a right, and you're right on Pulaski, right on 40.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, they put up new signs on Erie Street restricting truck traffic on that. So that's enforceable. And then I'm just looking at a map to try and figure out if a truck comes down 155, where, if it follows all those, I mean, because then it can still take Juniata onto Ontario and then make the right onto 40 that way.
On Otsego.
Otsego's, it's.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way they should go.
And that's gonna be bad enough.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that'll probably create a new issue because
Yeah, a lot of them can't make the turn. So then if they're trying to make the right-hand turn from Juniata onto Otsego, then Otsego has to back up to allow the semi to make the turn.
right, because there's not much of a, it's the real square there at Nani's. There's not it's not rounded or anything.
Well, we have problems with trucks on all the street because you say that the access, they're not supposed to turn on Juniata and Revolution Street, and they do it every day, causing a mess. And with schooling, it's even worse with the buses.
Right. I mean, eventually they're going to have to figure it out. And that's where I think Tim's right. It's the difference in the tolls. They're trying to save money. But if they learn they can't go up Erie Street, they can't make the turn now on Ohio, I mean, eventually they're going to learn just stay on 95, which is where I think most of the citizens want them to be, and not using the downtown streets as a cut through.
Yeah, then the only thing we really need to worry about is like when 95 gets shut down, how, what way we're routing them.
Well, what's happened is to stack up on Ohio Street, and then you have everybody figuring out another way around. So they're using Erie Street. They're that's the issue really, is once everything bottles up at Ohio Street, the intersection of Ohio and Route 40, that's when everybody starts searching for other ways around. So
Agreed.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll look into that one. Moving on to E, I believe that is fixed. I've been over that a couple times, and I think it's good now. So the railroad at Revolution, I believe that they fixed that one. So I'm going to drop that from our agenda until it becomes an issue again.
Take that off. That's completed.
It's smooth as silk.
Yes, very nice.
It's
Better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Well, good. All right. So the next one we have is the safe routes to the new school. So school's been in session for a little bit. So has anyone gotten a chance to all right, well, first off, I don't think we finished that bit of sidewalk that we were talking about yet, unless I'm mistaken on that one. Do you know, Tim, did we get that bit of sidewalk in front of Fence by Fenner?
We're looking to use the next round of money that's coming from the federal government towards that.
Okay.
That's getting tied up right now with the other bill for the $3.5 trillion. So we're looking to be able to use that money when we get it towards the sidewalk and complete that sidewalk. I talked to Patrick, and we're going to go ahead, and we have a contractor, Gettner, that we're looking at using. That contract where they're doing our paving projects, and we're going to go ahead and use them piggyback on them to get the sidewalks.
Okay.
So we're just kind of waiting for the funding to come through from the next infrastructure bill.
Excuse me, is this Tim talking?
Yes, that was Tim.
Okay, y'all gonna have to say your names because I can't hear you.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
This is Casey. I thought we had money set aside in the budget last year, not this year, last year to do it.
That money was there, and then when we closed out the budget, it was gone. So you have to talk to George. He uses it to settle accounts in other areas. So if it didn't get spent, well, then it ends up going and I don't have, it's gone. So that's all I can tell you is it got spent with something else within the city to cover some other bill. So we've got to come up with that additional funding. We believe with the next infrastructure money that's coming out, we'll be able to use that.
Okay. Still keeping in the same vein. And Casey, you got this email too, but and I haven't gotten a chance to check it because I just got it today. But the crosswalks at Lewis Lane, so where you'd be walking if you were coming from, what is that gas station towards the school, or that, just basically on Lewis crossing 40, that those crosswalks have been restriped, I guess, so you can actually see them now.
They were restriped at the request of, I believe, the parent requested that, and we went ahead and did it.
That was
Okay,
what
good.
we met with State Highway about, along with Councilman Curtis, County Councilman Curtis. We had an and
Is that Curtis Bueller?
Curtis Beulah, yeah. And it was, they identified, State Highway acknowledged that, yes, it should be done, and they made it a priority. And so what they had said to us, I believe in the email, JW, is that, that right now it's temporary lines. And when the contractor comes in to do the final lines, they'll be made more permanent. Is that what the email says?
Well, the first part of it was talking about final pavement markings along 40. So that might have been different. I'm not sure exactly what she meant by that. And then the second part was, I'm told the crosswalks at Lewis Lane were installed last night. So I'm believing that means the crosswalks are done. So those should be fine the way they are. It's just the rest of the final pavement markings. So maybe from the last time they repaved, they hadn't restriped it completely.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can think of is they meant with that. And then I'm not sure if they changed. I'm going to assume they didn't change the timing of those lights because when we were out there, I mean, it looked like it was pretty close for at least most of it. Like as long as you started when you could, which again meant the people turning right had to actually let the pedestrians go first. But if you started at the right time, you made it across just fine. It was if you started halfway through or less that you could get stuck in the middle.
Right.
So I think at least for those two portions of the safe routes, new schools, we should be okay. Has anyone heard anything else related to that, or any other areas that we could focus on, or that we need to put some focus on as far as getting kids to school relatively, as safely as we possibly can?
So earlier in the school year, there were significant complaints by parents about the intersection at Revolution and Lewis. And, I know from my daughter, legendary, it's inevitable. The kids they don't cross at right angles, they cross on the angle. And I'm pretty sure, well, we used to have a crossing guard there, but that was deleted from this county public schools budget. I believe the police officers and probably the SROs have worked to try to make sure that kids cross better. I don't know if there's something that the police department can update us on.
We've picked up a couple of them, but the SROs, it's really not the SRO's job. That's an actual crosswalk person's job. But when the SRO, there's only 2 now for the 4 schools. But when I have one, it's free. Since they fall under me, I actually have one of them. Will go out there and especially the middle school kids, just get them through. But the issue at that intersection there is that there's traffic light, but there's no crossing lights of any sort. There's only a crossing sign. It lets you know that there is a crosswalk there. So I think it would be a good idea to install some kind of actual crossing light there so the kids could hit the button to stop, or anybody, not just kids, to stop the light to
Well,
cross.
I think that's in the process because I want to say State Highways was supposed to update that one when the new school is finished. I'm assuming they're just backed up.
That's correct. And we're also doing part of that whole intersection. And what I'm trying to coordinate with the State Highway Administration, this is Tim Whitty, is that we're doing some improvements to widen Lewis Street there at that intersection. And it was sort of brought in for some reason or other, and now we've painted the additional right of way, and we're widening that road to provide a right turn only. And so we're coordinating with the state to make sure that we get that construction done before they install the, I guess, whatever, the crossing sign signals that we're talking about. So we're in contact with the state, John Bonenza. And so we'd rather, obviously there's wiring and all that has to go into that. And we want to make sure that our project, the improvements are done and we coordinate together to have that installation. So based on just due to the pandemic and the issues, a lot of projects are being pushed back. We've awarded that contract to a contractor for the construction, and he's just waiting on the supplies to get in, materials to get into to get the work done. So that's what's kind of delayed that.
Okay. Any other intersections or anything we can think of other than because a little lower down on I, we've got a bunch of pedestrian activated crossings that I believe that's Lewis at Revolution is on that list for one of those as well. But I know those were all ones that someone that we had mentioned to the state that we would like, if possible, to get those put in. So any other, I guess, either crossings or areas that might be an issue?
So the perennial thing that comes up is also right by the stadium and enforcing the yellow line. Now that we have plenty of parking, there really is no real need to park alongside that area. So
we're on which one? Are we on G now? Is that what we?
No, we're still up at F.
Oh,
State
okay.
Charles School.
Okay.
So, my twofold question. First, how's enforcement going along that area? And number two, do we need to expand the yellow curbing or make the curbing brighter for people so that they understand they're not to park along that area?
I will check into the enforcement on that area, and I will certainly put an email out to the PD to enforce
And is
it
this
more.
Juniette? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it at the beginning, what she was saying.
Junietta by the stadium there, the football
Okay.
stadium.
And I could certainly paint the curb a little bit brighter if it needs to be, but unfortunately we can't find yellow paint to do that type of work. So we plan on actually going around and upgrading, and painting and repainting the yellow curb in all the areas within the city. But unfortunately, we cannot acquire yellow paint.
Okay, now, who said that they were going to look into the enforcement? Who made that statement?
Enforcement was Ken with the police, Ken
Okay.
Terry,
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Corporal Terry.
All right, that's what I wanted to know.
And then everything after that was Tim.
Tim.
Now that it's announced at every football game, both rec and at the high school, or for the high school games, the but it still appears when I drive by that area to be a constant problem. So,
Well, I attended a park and rec game on Saturday, and people are not respecting you crossing in that new parking lot back over to the stadium. Some people from Norfolk and I were trying to get from the stadium back to the parking lot. The people coming down Juniata were very disrespectful, and we were in the crosswalk.
yeah.
Was that during the day or night?
It was during the day. It was like
Okay,
about
so
11.
it's not like they had a problem. It's not like it's a lighting issue. This is
No, it's
just
not a
a
light.
people
No,
issue.
it was 11:30 in the morning.
Okay. Well, that's because that's what I was going to ask. I don't know what the lighting is like there at night. I can't say that I've been to a football game or anything there at night.
Well, there's a lot of police enforcement when there's a game there.
Okay.
So people see those lights and stop, but there's nothing there. There was nothing there during the day. And what got me is I told the people, I said, okay, I wish we could take a picture so they could see, the city could see, look at this. I mean, they were on top of us.
Right. Yeah, I mean, during the day, other than enforcement, there's not much we're going to be able to do. At night, we do need to make sure that the light covers the new crosswalk. I guess both of those crosswalks there. So if anyone gets a chance, or if anyone is at one of those games, just make sure that we have enough light. So during the night, we definitely have that covered too. During the day, there's just no excuse. That's just bad drivers.
Police on Pennington Avenue, and then they had the police on Bourbon Street backed up, so you couldn't even come up Juniata to Bourbon, and then you couldn't go down past Pennington Avenue. So that's and that was during a regular game. So that was really covered.
JW, this is Casey.
Yes.
The other issue in that area, and this is something that the city is highlighting to the Harford County Public Schools, is the new parking lot does not have light.
Right.
Oh, at all?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. I haven't used it. To be honest, I've not.
There's the already existing lights along the street, but it's very dark. Personally, I would not allow my daughter to park there.
Okay, so that's school system owns that lot, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not like we don't own that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The new lot also doesn't have any walkway to get out of the lot towards the sidewalk on the stadium side. So you have, elderly people that'll have to try and step up over the curb and go through a section of grass to make it to the sidewalk. That part really wasn't thought out.
And I believe there's something else, Tim, that the city has commented to Harford County Public Schools, correct?
Yes, we have on a number of issues we brought up about the lights as well as the lack of handicap, especially along Pennington, those entrances along Pennington. We brought up the fact that they need to have handicap ramps there. So they've basically, I don't know where it's at, but we've voiced our concerns, but they've not responded back in any way as to what they're going to do.
A handicap ramp near the intersection of Pennington and Juniata would be fantastic coming out of if that's what you're talking about, coming out of that new lot.
No, I'm talking about the entrances onto Pennington from the parking lot. There's two entrances onto Pennington from the parking lot.
Oh,
And if you're coming down on the sidewalk on the St. Patrick Church side, when you get to those two entrances, there's no handicap ramp. They never put them in. The curb is
on the Juniata side. Also, there's no access for people or the
well.
handicap.
The only handicap ramps are actually on. I guess between it's between the auditorium, the parking lot, and
the Congress side.
Right.
Yes.
That's
where the only ramps are.
But there's no exit to get from the parking lot to Juniata Street. You got to step over the lump there, the step in the grass. There's no sidewalk.
JW,
Yeah.
as an action moving forward, it might be helpful for this committee to write a memo or a letter expressing our concerns to Hartford County Public Schools in support of the city.
Okay. Let's see. I will work with, I'll have to work with someone, see if we can't get something typed up unless, I mean, could I get a copy of what the city sent? Tim, by any
Yeah,
chance?
I'll send something. I'll get that to you.
Yeah, if you forward an email, if you forward me the email of what got sent to them by the city, then I can read over it real quick, assuming it's the same stuff we just talked about, which I'm sure it is, and then I can figure out a way to pen something.
Or do you want to wait until you write something and then have everybody vote on it?
Well, that's fine too. I just want to make sure that I can I read what the city said, because if we're gonna agree with the city.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's so I'll try and put that as another bullet point too for next meeting. But let's move on from that to letter G.
Pat and I heard the same thing.
Okay. It's thunder and lightning down here. I mean, the power grid go out. Let's go.
Oh, okay. Well, the storm hasn't made it to Bel Air yet, so I'm safe. Okay, so G, as far as that goes, I think we are still waiting on, well, at least for the basin area, I don't think there's any action items that we had for that. I know I think we checked the speed there and there wasn't that much speeding. Am I correct, Ken? Or am I thinking of something else?
I think you're thinking something else. I never got the speed spies down into the basin area.
So yeah, and I don't know if we need it in the actual basin. I think the speed problem was up near is that Union turn, making that Union turn into Commerce, that area.
Right.
I think that was the speed area. The parking issue is the basin, which I mean, I don't think there's much we can do with that.
Done a great job trying to control people jumping the curb and going on to Commerce there.
Oh, like coming through the park and jumping the curb?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
They
So like
drive
where the boats
trailers-
park?
Yes, where the boats park. You know, they put up obstacles to try to discourage that on the weekends. But you know, it's that whole area, you know, it's just part of the circuit of driving, and it's, you know, while they might not reach the full, you know, is it 30 miles per hour or 25 miles per hour in that area?
Should be 25.
But they go from a stop to straight, you know, lay it on going through there. So it's just a constant problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what we'll be able to do as far as, I mean, other than having someone sit there as far as enforcement of boats coming through there. Other than I would think that would be hard on the boat, but
Well, that's the boat jumping the curb, but in addition, there's people with their motorcycles and loud vehicles that rev their engines and lay on the gas, going either up the hill to get onto Commerce from the boat basin, or going from Union around to.
That's become a real big thing on Union. That's a lot in the last year. I've noticed this.
I got a strange question regarding the exhaust systems. I do remember reading in our eco where modified exhausts are not permitted inside the city limits. Could we start enforcing the non-OEM vehicles?
I have to look
The
that one
ones
up.
that backfire? Yeah,
I
as soon
think,
as
I
they
thi- I
take
think
their
that
foot off
was,
the gas.
that's only for tractor trailer modified exhaust, but I'll look that up.
Okay. Well, in the interest of, sorry, go
to-
ahead.
I brought this up to Delegate Lasanti and asked the question, we have rules in place as far as, not being able to add, those illegal items to your car as far as the exhaust, et cetera. There's rules already, state laws on the books about them. Why are they not being enforced, and why can they not be enforced during the VEEP inspections? And she's looking into it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep us plugging along here, see if we can get out before the storm gets you guys. Parking lot at Tidewater Grill and the Legion. So as far as I know, that one we're still waiting on the project at the water plant to be done before that gets relined and at least find a way to put more paint on the one-way side so people will stop entering that direction and coming from the Legion towards Tidewater Grill. Am I right about that?
Is correct. That is correct. We are still working on getting the lines in and and that project as far as the intake pipes is still ongoing. So
Okay.
until that point, when we're finished that project, then we'll do all the restriping.
Okay. We've already talked on the next one for I. We've already talked about a few of those intersections. So the rest of that laundry list, I don't know that, and I'll defer to Tim again. I don't know if any of those have gotten updated to, has the state updated any of those? Do we know?
They have not, no.
Okay. So we'll keep them on the list until that gets done. Lewis at Route 40, the pedestrian crossing time. So I kind of already spoke about that when we talked a little earlier. So I don't think they're going to do too much on that other than because again, when they were timing it, it seemed like there was enough time other than fixing those crosswalks, which I mean, fixing the crosswalks will hopefully help. And I mean, when I was standing out there, it seemed like the biggest problem to the pedestrian crossing was people making a right from Lewis onto 40 and just not deferring to the pedestrians when it was their turn. And that's more of a, I guess, going to be an enforcement thing than a fixable thing necessarily. Not sure giving more time even necessarily would have helped there because a lot of times it was buses making those right-hand turns in front of people who were trying to walk. And that, again, that was the time I was there, I'm sure. I'm hoping that on off school times, it would be a little bit better. But as far as what the state saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, Casey, but didn't you get the same kind of opinion coming from them that they weren't going to do anything with the cross times?
I think they were going to look at the issue as a whole and see if they could make the intersection safer. They were going to study it. They definitely recognize that the pedestrians are not very visible in that area, and they're trying to find a way to make them more visible so that because the pedestrians have the right of way. But they did not identify solutions at all. And they were also talking about using the Safe Routes to School funding to help do the study on the area and identify solutions.
Okay. As far as K goes with possible openings in the fence, as far as I know, I believe the Havre de Grace police are on top of that. So they walk that line every now and then forward onto Amtrak, any of the holes that they find. So unless it comes up again, individually, I'm going to take that off of our list. And Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are still doing that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like large sections where, like I said before, the trees have come down. So I doubt that Amtrak's going to ever send anybody back through there to do that. But it's also a barrier where you're not just going to walk right through it. So.
Right. Yeah. So, and if anything else comes up, you guys, when you're taking a look at it, we'll just report it directly to Amtrak, and it's on them to fix it. And we can't really do anything.
Correct.
As far as in-person meetings go, I guess I'll just ask you to think about it. We will revisit it again in November as to what we're planning on doing for the next year, or at least for the beginning of the next year. So we'll discuss that in November. And then probably after that November meeting, I'll try and send around an email to have everyone respond to see if we can't get a kind of a consensus on what we want to do moving forward into 2022. I believe the city is back to in-person meetings, or at least they have been. So we're certainly able to move back to that if everyone on the committee feels comfortable with that. Last thing on my agenda is the purple street lights. Now that after Casey brought them up the last time, honestly, I started looking for them more. And when I started looking for them, I saw them everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
I'll be honest, the last meeting, I could have told you, I don't think I've really noticed any, but after she brought it up, I noticed them everywhere. I mean, like neighborhoods, just everywhere.
Can we keep them for football season?
Right, and maybe that's what we do. We just keep them for football season, then get rid of them. I don't know, but it's very, very festive for the Ravens.
I have called on a couple of them, and BGE did quickly come out. Like it was like 7 days they were fixed. And I called in like the most egregious ones. Like the one by City Hall was absolutely horrible, and they did change it quickly. So, you know.
Right. So I think that's the big thing.
Somebody driving around town and identifying with an app open and identifying all the pictures. That's what it's literally going to take.
And you mean one person driving, the second person with the app open in the passenger seat?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. That's what I thought, because that's what I do when I do that kind of stuff. Okay, so again, so I think with the purple street lights, the biggest thing is just going to be getting people to tell BGE. As long as you tell them, they'll take care of it, it seems.
Yeah.
All right. So are there any new comments from citizens that anyone heard over the last couple months?
Okay, I had one today. Do not laugh at me.
I will not laugh.
On my way to the 7-Eleven, and two elderly ladies were going up Union Avenue between Congress Avenue and Pennington. And they were going to catch the bus because the blue bus, the county bus, no longer stops on the corner of Congress and Union. They now have to go up to the old post office. And the sad part about it is the one lady had one of those seats that you sit in, the disabled sit in, and was supposed to be able to walk it yourself, but another elderly lady was trying to help her push it. Then some man came along and helped both of them. And they said that the city made the decision not to have the stop at Congress and Union. So I thought we were looking at it because it was sad to see them struggling trying to get to that spot. I mean, it's not far for you and I to walk, but for them it is, especially if one of the individuals is disabled.
So I know that the conversation about the bus stops came up when the county wanted to erect a shelter outside of the library. And we came back and said, that's not a very good location for it because that's already a problem as far as visibility. After that, I believe that's when Steve Gambatoria spoke with the county and they made recommendations for changes to the routes so that they can erect shelters that would be in better locations. That said, is that where the original, are you saying that's where the original bus stop was? It wasn't in front of the library.
No, the original bus stop was right there on the corner of Congress and Union Avenue.
And was that going?
In front of St. John's, because that's down the street from the senior shelter.
So it was on the St. John side, right?
Yes. No, it was on the St. John side, which is Congress Avenue.
Yeah, so that's not even the one that they were talking about. I have no
No.
idea then.
But
why
they stopped that
exactly.
from coming there. And the lady asked me, and I was like, why are you asking me? I don't work for the city. But
Yeah.
like I said, they moved the bus stop. The bus now would not, you know how they said before they would stop, but the bus driver said she cannot stop and let them off on Congress Avenue and Union Street.
Yeah,
And
I
like I said,
know that there is a bus stop on the opposite side of the street of Union from St. John's. There's a bus stop sign there.
And
yeah,
that's
there's
the
a
one that's
sign,
in
but
front
the
of
bus will
the,
not stop there.
so they don't stop at the Opera House then?
No. The next bus stop is up there where the old post office is.
And that was an existing bus stop that had
Yes,
always.
and that was an existing bus stop.
And there's not one, so there's not one anywhere near like the library or the
No,
Opera House
nowhere near
anymore?
there. Nope.
Okay.
Now there's several different buses that come through. There's, I think, 2 different routes that go through town.
Well, they said some of them are utility buses, which means they pick up only the disabled. But
Yeah.
the standard bus, which this person would have got on, only stops on certain routes.
Right, and there's 2 routes for the standard bus that go through Havre de Grace. And they do have different stops. That's the amount of knowledge I have about it. And there is supposed to be a web app specific to the stops.
Tim, you don't know anything more about that, do you?
All I know is that we've worked out the bus stops with the guy from the county that for the transit folks at the county. So we've identified some locations to where we've relocated some bus stops, and we're basically just trying to get those installed. That's all that we're working with. I don't know what other routes, but the city has made no, other than maybe changing some locations, we've not denied any extra. If the issue here is, and I'm not kind of following the conversation, that the city is reduced the number of bus stops, we haven't. We've shifted some bus stops around where we think it's where the city has right of way and where we think would better serve the community. But we've not had to say on the number of bus stops that are in the city.
Right, and those.
And we're working, and we're just trying to get that done with COVID and everything else, and just trying to get, that's like on the work list to get accomplished.
And moving them was specific to the better locations for the shelters, but not every bus stop has a shelter.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. Not every bus stop has a shelter.
Okay.
I didn't realize that Havre de Grace, any of the bus stops had a shelter.
That's what they're going to be building.
Well, we are adding shelters to a couple. There's going to be one by the hospital, I think one opposite by the old post office, and then by the another.
Well, maybe
another
that's why they
location
moved the bus stop
right now in
from
Union,
Congress Avenue and
and
Union
we're working
Avenue
on the one by the
because you're gonna put up a shelter.
Juniata and Ostego, by the state, by the McDonald's. We're putting in one by the McDonald's down there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just think one needs to be put in closer to the St. John's. Not necessarily a shelter, but a stop. They didn't say anything about a shelter. They just wanted a stop closer than the post office, the old post office.
Okay. Yeah, I don't, Tim, do you have any contacts with whoever does that?
I do.
I think this might be.
I guess I can ask him.
This might
Where
be
is this
best done through
location where you
Steve
want another bus
Victoria.
stop?
Tim, this might be best done through Steve Gambatoria to address this issue.
That works. If you're able to just talk to Steve and see if he's already working. He may be working on it.
I don't think he is. This is the first that I've heard of this. So I don't think Steve is working on it. This is the first that I've heard of adding a bus stop. We were given the bus stops by the county that they wanted. What we were working on was bus stops by the county for which they wanted to add shelters. And we were to pour these pads, and we're kind of working on that. But there's never been an issue with adding bus stops. I know of no. We've
Well,
never been asked by the county to do
This
that.
bus stop,
They've
when-
identified
after
the
the
locations
COVID,
that they want these.
after the COVID, this bus stop was changed because the bus used to stop right there on the corner of Union and Congress, and then they would let you off. You could get picked up in front of the library near the, what's that, the Opera House. And then after the COVID, it changed.
We don't know
during the
anything about that.
Well, I know someone who rode it on a regular basis, and she
I'll
was
take it as
pissed.
an action item to follow up with Steve Gambatoria to find out what's happening with the bus stops.
Okay, that'll work. Anything else from citizens? Okay, how about any comments from any of the committee members? Anything you guys have noticed over the last couple months?
KW, I
Yes,
just
sir.
have one thing. I just have one thing. Last month, my wife and I both participated in the half marathon, and I just wanted to say thanks to the city as a whole. Corporal Terry and Tim, both the work that your shops put into it was a fantastic job. It was a real
Thank
nice
you.
day for everybody. That's all I want to say.
And you participated in the what?
The Susquehanna River Running Festival.
Okay. And who's this?
Chad.
Okay.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah, good job, guys. I definitely did not run anything close to a half marathon. Let Chad handle that for me. Maybe if they move it up to a full marathon, I'll think about it.
Oh, stop it. And who's the paramedic on the group? Is that you, Chad? You're gonna have to get him.
That's John.
No, I'm the paramedic on the group. I'm here
Okay.
for you, JW.
Okay,
good.
you're gonna have to be out there with him every step of the way.
Okay.
Now you can drive. Well, you can drive marathons, right? Like in your car. That's okay. That's what I was talking about. All right. Well, if no one else has any other comments, I think that gets us through our agenda. So if anyone has anything else, now's the time. Okay. Well, I think we're going to call it at 7:04. Next meeting will be November 22nd, 6:00. So same time. And we're going to be doing that one through Zoom. And from there, we will decide what we're doing for next month or, January, because we're going to skip December because that Monday falls way too close to Christmas. All right. All right. Well, thank you all for your participation. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate